Hey everyone, it's Jenny freaking Kim. Today, I'm excited to bring you my tier list of K-pop idols for 2024. I've taken the time to look back at each and every idol's comebacks and performances last year. This includes things like live shows, song delivery, growth, future potential, achievements, and their overall quality of work. In this tier list, I'll be ranking a total of 69 idols, so get comfortable, this may take a while. If you've been following my channel, you know I'm all about sharing my rankings, tier lists, and reviews of female K-pop groups and idols throughout the year. While we are officially 1 month into 2025, I feel like there is still not much to talk about this year, so I feel that it's only appropriate to make one final review about 2024. Please keep in mind, this is completely my opinion. It's not based on charts or popularity, it's all about what stood out to me. I'd love to hear what you think too, so drop your thoughts in the comments, as I'm always open to hearing different takes and having fun discussions. We have a lot to talk about, so let's dive right in. The first idol I want to talk about is Chaewon. She kicked off the year strong with her Easy era, delivering some really strong performances early on. However, when Coachella came around, her performance didn't quite meet expectations. It wasn't as rough as some of the other members, but it certainly didn't stand out. What struck me the most was that her leadership role didn't feel as impactful as it did the previous year. As the year went on, her Crazy era showed some improvement, but it still lacked the dominance she had the year prior. Because of this, I'd place Chaewon in the solid tier. She had a strong start, but seemed to lose some momentum. Hopefully, she can bounce back and have a more consistent year ahead. Next up is Yoonjin. Out of all the members in LE SSERAFIM, I'd say Yoonjin was the most consistent last year. She excelled across the board, and her performances at Coachella, as well as at both the MTV VMAs and EMAs, were truly standout moments, by far the strongest of the group. What impressed me even more was her ability to take on a leadership role during live performances. While not officially the leader, it was clear that Yoonjin stepped up and took charge in those moments, particularly when compared to Chaewon. Let's not forget that Yoonjin is also a soloist, which I don't hear much people talk about. She collaborated with Max for the hit song Stupid in Love and her song Yes or No, which I thought were both pretty good songs. Both her Easy and Crazy comebacks were also dominant, and overall, she had an outstanding year. Without a doubt, I'd place Yoonjin in the great tier. Next is Sakura. Sakura's vocal struggles have been a recurring issue, and unfortunately, I felt they were even more apparent last year, especially during Coachella and other key performances. To be fair, she's strong in almost every other aspect, but her vocals remain a noticeable weakness. I truly hope she works on this, because if she does, I believe she has the potential to become a true ace. Here's hoping. On top of that, it seemed like the constant harassment from netizens last year took a toll on her. While she tried her best to hold her ground and push through, it seemed like the pressure became overwhelming at times. I'm really rooting for her to make significant progress this year, but for now, I'd have to place her in the bad tier for 2024. Moving on to Kazuha, I think she had a slightly stronger year overall. Her choreography remains a standout feature, and she's done an excellent job maintaining consistency throughout. Both her Easy and Crazy performances were solid, not groundbreaking, but still engaging and well executed. As a result, I'd place Kazuha in the solid tier, just behind Chaewon. Next up is Yoonchae. I'd say Yoonchae shares some similarities with Sakura when it comes to vocal challenges, though perhaps not to the same extent. This was particularly noticeable during her Coachella performance. That being said, I think she's made some strides since then. Her Crazy era was a definite improvement over her Easy era, but the gap wasn't significant enough to truly stand out. For now, I'll place Yoonchae in the solid tier behind Kazuha. Next up is Nayeon. I think Nayeon had an exceptional year. Her second solo album was even better than her first, and her live performances truly showcased her powerful talents as a soloist. She kept her foot on the gas all year long, delivering standout performances with every Twice comeback, and her stage presence really gave off the aura of a leader. Her choreography and vocals were top tier, further solidifying her status as a legendary idol. Without a doubt, I'm placing Nayeon in the perfect tier. Following her is Jihyo. Out of all the members in Twice, Jihyo is easily one of the most consistent performers across the board, and arguably in the entire industry. Last year, she truly shined, with every comeback being a total success. Jihyo is one of those rare idols who consistently delivers top-tier work throughout the year. This leads to the question, will Jihyo release more solo music soon? I certainly hope so. With that in mind, I'm placing Jihyo in the great tier behind Yoonjin. Now, let's talk about Tsuyu. I think Tsuyu really surprised us all last year with the release of her solo music, and personally, I absolutely loved this era for her. Out of all the members in Twice, Tsuyu was probably the last one I'd expect to release solo music, but she absolutely nailed it. Admittedly, her solo era flew a bit under the radar and didn't quite reach the same level as Nayeon's release, but it really opened my eyes to Tsuyu's potential as a soloist. I'm genuinely curious about her future career and excited to see where she goes from here. As for her performances with Twice, it's been incredible watching how much our maknae has matured and grown. She's clearly in her prime, and I think she did exceptionally well in every comeback last year. Because of all this, I'm placing Tsuyu in the great tier, behind Yoonjin. Following her is Mina. I feel like Mina is one of the strongest members in Twice, and last year, she further solidified that in my mind. Not only were her performances with Twice consistently impressive, but what really stood out to me was her haute couture era with Misamo. I was completely blown away by her aura, and her live performance in Japan during their tour showcased that Mina truly possesses powerful leadership qualities. On top of that, her solo song Misty was really strong, and now I'm hoping for even more solo music from her in the future. All in all, I'd say that Misamo Mina is her most powerful form yet, and I can't wait to see what she has in store for us this year. While Misamo doesn't have an official leader, if they did, it would undoubtedly be Mina. Mina definitely deserves a spot in the great tier, and I'm placing her ahead of Yoonjin. Up next is Sana. Similar to Mina, I feel that Sana was even more powerful in her Misamo form than in Twice. That's not to say her performances with Twice were lacking. On the contrary, she was consistently strong throughout the year, much like Jihyo. However, Misamo Sana took things to another level. While she may not have quite the same leadership presence as Mina, Sana still did an amazing job. Because of this, I'm placing Sana in the great tier, just behind Tsuyu. Moving along to Momo. Similar to Sana, I feel like Misamo Momo outshined her performances with Twice last year. Her haute couture era was particularly strong, and she delivered solid performances with Twice as well, with Strategy being her other strong comeback. I also really enjoyed her solo song, which I personally prefer over Sana's, though Mina's solo track was my favorite of the three. Because of this, I'm placing Momo in the great tier, just ahead of Sana. Next up is Jonghyun. While Jonghyun did okay with every Twice comeback last year, I felt like the spotlight wasn't on her as much. Being part of a 9-member group can make it challenging to stand out, and I think it affected her overall presence last year. Compared to previous years, her performance seemed less prevalent, and because of this, I'm placing her in the underwhelming tier. Next is Dahyun. As my Twice bias, I would really like to see Dahyun in the spotlight more. She's often overshadowed by some of the more popular members, which puts her more within the underrated realm. Much like Jonghyun, I feel like this year was a bit lighter for her compared to previous years. Because of that, I'm placing her in the underwhelming tier ahead of Jonghyun. Now, let's talk about Chaeyoung. Much like Dahyun and Jonghyun, I feel that Chaeyoung is often underappreciated and didn't get as much attention last year. She did well with every comeback, but her standout moment was probably during the Strategy era. However, nothing really stood out as truly exciting. Because of this, I'm placing her in the solid tier, just behind Yoonchae. Speaking of these last 3 members, I believe they truly deserve their time in the spotlight, especially after so many years together as a group. I hope that in 2025, we see more solo projects or even subunits for them, similar to what we saw with Misamo. Twice did something like this on a smaller scale with their Formula of Love album, which featured 3 songs with different subunit pairings. I'd love to see more of that in the future. Now, let's talk about the Blackpink members. I've decided to leave out Jisoo since she didn't release any music last year, but she is releasing her album this month, so I am looking forward to that. Starting with Jennie. Last year, Jennie had a few features with other artists early in the year, such as Spot with Zico and Slow Motion with Matt Champion. To be honest, I found them to be just okay, not particularly groundbreaking. However, her song Mantra was an absolute standout for me, and it quickly became one of my favorite solo tracks of the year. I also appreciated how she actively promoted the song by performing it live at a few shows, even though that was the extent of her solo activities for the year. While her activities may have been light, Jennie certainly had a standout year in terms of recognition. She made history by becoming the first female artist to receive a staggering 8 nominations at the 2024 Mama Awards, and she walked away with 4 wins, an incredible achievement, so congratulations to Jennie. Despite her relatively quiet year, her accomplishments were definitely the highlight. Given that, I'm placing Jennie in the great tier ahead of Yoonjin. Coming in next is Lisa. I think Lisa had an excellent year, especially with her solo work. Her debut track Rockstar was a powerful start to her solo career, showcasing an aura that proved she was ready to dominate. Following that, she dropped 2 more singles, New Woman, which featured Latin sensation Rosalia, and Moonlit Floor. Both tracks added to the diversity and depth of her solo discography. Her promotional activities were also strong, including high-profile performances at the VMAs, the Victoria's Secret fashion show, and several fan meetups. Not to mention, she picked up some well-deserved awards, such as Best K-Pop at the VMAs, which she won the year prior, and is the first to win that award twice, and even 2 more at the EMAs. Overall, Lisa had a well-balanced and impressive year, with strong performances, impactful releases, and notable recognition. Because of this, I'm placing her in the great tier ahead of Jennie. Now let's talk about Rosé. Out of all the members of Blackpink, Rosé was the one who surprised me the most. Not only did she release her mega-hit single APT featuring Bruno Mars, but she also treated us to her full-length solo album Rosie. This album was packed with a rich variety of tracks, showcasing Rosé's immense potential as a soloist. She truly knocked it out of the park with her performances and musical range. On top of that, she won a well-deserved Daesang at the Asian Artist Awards for APT, which was a huge achievement. While her live performances weren't as frequent, each one left a strong impression, and just her winning a Daesang alone shows how great of a soloist she truly is. Overall, I think Rosé had an exceptional year, and because of that, I'm placing her in the perfect tier ahead of Nayeon. Next up is Yeji. Yeji is one of those idols who consistently delivers stellar performances, much like Jihyo. Last year, she truly shined during her Born to Be era, where the aggressive style of that concept perfectly matched her energy and stage presence. Not only did she dominate in that era, but her solo song also became the most popular among her group, which shows her strong potential as a soloist. While her Algorithm and Gold comebacks were also solid, they didn't quite match the intensity of her earlier work in the year. Despite this, her overall performance was still impressive. Because of this, I'm placing Yeji in the great tier ahead of Momo. The next idol in line is Ryujin. Ryujin is another idol who consistently delivered strong performances throughout the year. Every comeback she had was a success, and her solo song Runaway was also quite solid. Throughout the year, she embodied a rock star vibe that really suited her, adding a unique flair to her performances. I also feel like Ryujin and Yeji have always been neck and neck, but honestly, I would have to give Ryujin the slight edge for 2024. Not only was her Born to Be era powerful, but so was her Gold era. Therefore, I'm placing Ryujin in the great tier, ahead of Yeji. After her comes Chaeryeong. Chaeryeong has really come a long way and has developed into a true all-rounder. In 2024, she truly showcased her potential by standing out in almost every category, from her performances to her overall growth as an artist. Her solo track Mine is easily one of my favorite solo songs of the year, and it perfectly captures her versatility and depth. I feel really positive about Chaeryeong's future, as she has grown and matured significantly since her debut, which is something I really commend her for. Given all this, I'm placing Chaeryeong in the great tier, behind Momo. Joining the list is Yoona, the maknae of ITZY. Yoona had a year of growth in 2024, though perhaps not as significant as Chaeryeong's, but still impressive in its own right. Her Born to Be era was definitely my favorite, and her solo track was not only catchy, but also perfectly suited to her style. The algorithm and gold comebacks were solid as well, but they didn't have the same lasting impact as Born to Be. Even so, I feel like her overall performances weren't on the same level as the previous members mentioned. As a result, I'm placing Yuna in the solid tier behind Chaewon. Stepping into the ranking is Leah. Unfortunately, 2024 was marked by Leah's hiatus for much of the year, causing her to miss both the Born to Be and algorithm comebacks. This was disappointing, as I thought Born to Be was one of ITZY's strongest comebacks in recent times, and I'm curious how Leah would have fit into that more aggressive concept. That said, she did release her solo track, which I thought was nice, though it was probably my least favorite among the group. However, her gold era was a major highlight. The anticipation around her return was palpable, and Leah came back stronger than ever, performing as if she hadn't missed a beat. Still, I didn't think it was super captivating. With this in mind, I'm placing Leah in the solid tier behind Kazuha. Now let's turn our attention to Karina. Karina is one of those rare idols who consistently finds a way to outdo herself with every comeback, and in 2024, she truly solidified her place as one of the best idols in the industry. Last year was undoubtedly her year. Not only does she lead one of the most successful girl groups in the world, but her talents are undeniably those of an ace. Throughout the year, Karina brought top-tier stage presence, vocals, rapping, and choreography to every performance. She led aespa to win multiple daesangs and also showcased her solo potential with the song Up, which was a glimpse into what she could achieve as a soloist. Her future looks incredibly promising, and I have no doubt that she has already proven herself as a legendary idol. Without question, Karina belongs in the perfect tier and at the very front. Coming up is Winter. Much like Karina, Winter is on a clear path to becoming a legendary idol, and in 2024, she truly proved herself with every comeback. Her vocals are one of her standout qualities. While perhaps not the absolute best in the industry, she is certainly among the top, in my opinion. Winter excels across every category, and in 2024, she showcased her versatility in live performances, bringing a powerful stage presence to each. While her solo song was solid, it wasn't my personal favorite compared to the others. Nonetheless, Winter had an incredible run last year, and I believe she deserves a spot in the perfect tier, just behind Nayeon. Let's talk about our next idol, Giselle. Giselle is arguably the most underrated member within aespa, a title she's held for quite some time. However, I think last year she came with a powerful approach, delivering every comeback with such confidence and strength that her stage presence improved tenfold, especially during her Whiplash era. Not only that, but out of the 4 members, I found her solo song Dopamine to be my favorite. I truly believe Giselle has the potential to pursue a solo career if she wanted to. In 2024, she really developed into a strong idol, and her future looks incredibly bright. For all these reasons, Giselle easily belongs within the perfect tier, right behind Winter. Making her way onto the list is Ningning. I think Ningning is quite similar to Giselle in terms of being an underrated idol, but she also had a strong year in 2024, though perhaps not as significant as Giselle's in my opinion. While I personally didn't connect with her solo song as much, all of her comebacks were on another level compared to previous years, showcasing her growth and improving stage presence. I'm excited to see what Ningning has in store for us this year. Based on her performance last year, I'm placing her within the perfect tier, right behind Giselle. Following her is Haewon. Since her debut with NMIXX, Haewon has always been the standout member due to her strong, all-rounder talents. However, I think last year she really shined, especially with both FE 304 comebacks. The Stick Out era, in particular, highlighted her aggressive rapping style and showcased her performance at full strength. We have witnessed Haewon on another level compared to years prior, and I hope she only goes up from here. Haewon has truly solidified herself as not just a strong leader, but a total ace. I absolutely loved her performances throughout 2024, and I hope to see her approach 2025 with the same confidence. Haewon belongs within the great tier, right behind Jennie. The next idol to discuss is Lily. Similar to Haewon, Lily has always been a strong idol, particularly known for her vocals. But 2024 really showed us Lily in a more aggressive and different light compared to her previous releases. Both her FE304 comebacks were spot on, and I'm excited to see something similar this year. However, I don't think it quite reached the same level as Haewon, but it was still a strong year for Lily nonetheless. Hence, I will place Lily within the great tier behind Jihyo. Moving along with Kyujin, the maknae of NMIXX. I think Kyujin has a ton of potential to become a formidable idol in the years to come. She is so young, and I would arguably already consider her a total ace. She can do it all, from rapping to dancing and singing, all at such a high level. I think she's catching up to Haewon in terms of overall skills quite fast, and I'm left excited and looking forward to her performances this year. Kyujin easily belongs within the great tier ahead of Chaeryeong. Now let's shift the spotlight over to Bae. I think last year Bae did quite well, though I preferred her performances during her FE304 break era over her stick-out era. I didn't feel like she embraced the aggressive style as much as Haewon or Kyujin, and her performance in Dash was her highlight of the year. Nonetheless, she is still a very talented idol, and I think last year she gave us strong performances all year long. Therefore, I will be placing Bae within the solid tier behind Jihyo. Coming into the ranking now is Seolyoon. I feel like for Seolyoon last year, I haven't seen any noticeable changes in her performances compared to years prior. Though she did have her moments during her stick-out era, I think her only issue is getting outside of her comfort zone. Whenever I watch NMIXX perform, I always find it noticeable how Seolyoon just doesn't have the same dominance as the other members. Don't get it twisted though, I still think that she's a strong idol nonetheless. For now, however, I will place Seolyoon within the solid tier ahead of Leah. Now let's talk about Jiwoo. I think Jiwoo has shown a lot of growth over the past few years, and her stick-out era was definitely her time to shine. I find it very exciting watching her perform, and I absolutely loved her rapping execution, and her confidence on stage has definitely improved a lot since her debut. While she may not be at the same level as Haewon or Kyujin, she's not too many steps behind either. With that in mind, I will place Jiwoo within the great tier ahead of Sana. Moving on with Yoojin. In my opinion, Yoojin is one of the most underrated leaders out there, and her consistency is truly remarkable. I've had many comebacks last year, and I think I've Switch and Crush were my favorites from her. With Heya and Exendio being her standout performances last year, I think that style suited her best. Besides that, however, the rest of the year felt not up to par with her usual standard. Not that she did bad, but it wasn't as exciting as years prior. The only thing that I really liked last year was her collaborative performance with Karina during Gayo Daejeon. Her live performances were also quite nice, such as her dominance at Lollapalooza. But besides that, I still think that she did quite well overall. That said, I will be placing Yoojin within the great tier ahead of Jihyo. Next up is Wonyoung. I think Wonyoung fared a bit better last year, with her standout comebacks being I've Switch, Crush, Summer Festa, and Supernova Love, all of which showcased her beautiful vocals. Her stage presence is also something that she has always dominated, and it was quite telling during her performance at Lollapalooza and World Tour. Speaking further about her Lollapalooza performance, I think she did really well covering all categories, and on top of that, she showcased some of her leadership traits as well. For this, Wonyoung is going within the great tier ahead of Sana. Following her is Liz. I think Liz is another one of those idols who has been slowly developing their craft, and with every comeback, she's sharpening her talents as a strong and all-rounder idol. Last year, I feel like her confidence has only multiplied, and her vocals and overall stage presence have been getting even stronger. I feel really good about Liz and her future within IVE, and I think she has the foundational skills to become a total ace in the making. Because of this, I am placing Liz within the great tier ahead of Jiwoo. Next in line is Ray. I think Ray really shined last year, especially with her performances in both Heya and Exendio. She's known for being more of an introvert, but I'm really noticing her coming out of her shell and building this sort of confidence that seeps into her performances, making them much more powerful and exciting to watch. She has also been a really strong rapper and is honestly one of the most underrated rappers in the industry, if you ask me. I just hope that this year we get to see Ray in the spotlight a bit more, where she can showcase her full potential. Ray is a super underrated idol nonetheless, and I believe that she deserves a lot more credit. As such, I will place Ray within the great tier behind Lily. Moving along with Licio, the maknae of IVE. For a long time, I feel like Licio has been in the shadow of her fellow members, and last year I feel like she has been a bit more in the spotlight, but not enough to show her true potential. Her performances within Heya and Exendio were her highlight of the year, but it wasn't enough to captivate me. In turn, I am placing Licio within the underwhelming tier behind Dahyun. Following her is Gal, the big sister of IVE. Similar to Licio, I feel like Gal is one of those idols who are underappreciated and don't receive as much opportunity within the spotlight as her fellow members, so she doesn't really get the chance to showcase her talents. Not to say that she isn't talented, I think her choreography is quite strong, but again, she doesn't have the same opportunities as the other members. Still, however, I will be placing Gal within the underwhelming tier behind Jonghyun. Now let's talk about the leader of Kiss of Life, Julie. Julie is one of the most exciting idols to emerge recently, and it's clear why she's making waves. Even though she's only been in the industry for a little over a year, she carries herself with the confidence and skill of a seasoned idol. From her powerful vocals to her flawless choreography and commanding stage presence, she has everything it takes to be an ace. What stands out most is her infectious enthusiasm. It's so evident that she genuinely loves what she does, and that passion resonates in every performance. Julie truly solidified her place as one of the top idols last year, with standout comebacks that showcased her ability to deliver top-tier performances across the board. From her Midas Touch to Sticky and Igloo eras, she impressed every time. I'm convinced she's already at a D-song level, and if she keeps this momentum, she's destined to become a legendary figure in K-pop. Without a doubt, Julie deserves a spot in the perfect tier, ahead of Winter. Let's shift our focus over to Natty. Much like Julie, Natty really made a statement throughout 2024. She proved that she's not just an idol, she's an ace. What really sets her apart is her choreography, which is absolutely on another level. I'd even compare her to K-pop powerhouses like Momo and Ryujin, because her dance skills are just that impressive. Throughout the year, she delivered powerful performances and had successful comebacks with every release from Kiss of Life. Natty has incredible potential, and I have no doubt that she's on the path to becoming a legendary idol. With the momentum she's carrying, her future looks incredibly bright. Without question, Natty deserves a spot in the perfect tier, right behind Winter. Following her is Belle. Belle had a phenomenal year with Kiss of Life, delivering some of the most powerful vocal performances. While she had strong comebacks throughout the year, her impact wasn't as standout as Julie's or Natty's, but it certainly wasn't any less impressive. Belle's vocals are undoubtedly some of the best in the entire industry, and with the right opportunities, I believe her future could rival the likes of Rosé. For now, I'm placing Belle at the front of the great tier behind Kyujin. Next up is Kiss of Life's maknae, Hanul. For much of 2024, Hanul was somewhat in the shadow of her fellow members, but she ended the year by stealing the spotlight during her Igloo era. This era was the highlight of her year, and she truly impressed me with her confidence and powerful stage presence. While I'd love to see even more from her in 2025, she still had a strong year in 2024. With that in mind, I'm placing Hanul within the great tier behind Jihyo. Moving along with our next idol, Ruka. Ruka had an incredibly powerful year in 2024, with each comeback she had with Baby Monster showcasing her growing strength as a performer. Her talents are at an exceptionally high level, and I would confidently call her a total ace. Saying this so early in her career speaks volumes about her bright future, and I could easily see her becoming a legendary fifth-generation idol. If anyone should be the leader of Baby Monster, it should definitely be Ruka. Not only because she's the big sister of the group, but because she radiates leadership qualities with her stage presence, and her confidence is through the roof. Without a shadow of a doubt, Ruka deserves a spot within the perfect tier behind Natty. Now let's talk about Ahyeon. Ahyeon is truly a once-in-a-lifetime talent, and her raw skills are exceptional enough to deserve their own category. In 2024, she really showcased explosive performances with every comeback, and all the hype surrounding her was absolutely warranted. While she has been criticized for appearing to try too hard at times, I think her level of effort should be highly commended, because it's rare to see that kind of dedication elsewhere. Ayeon has the mindset for greatness, and she's fully aware of her raw talent, making sure to carve out her name early in her career. Her drip era, in particular, was a standout for me, as it highlighted her impressive vocal range and really demonstrated her talents at full power. This leaves me extremely excited to see what she has in store for 2025. Indisputably, Ayeon easily belongs within the perfect tier ahead of Julie. Following her is Asa. Asa is undoubtedly another generational talent within Baby Monster, especially with her exceptional rapping skills. She delivered powerful performances throughout 2024, with each comeback being a major success. My personal favorites from her were in Sheesh, Forever, and Click Clack. Right from the start, it's clear that Asa's rapping abilities are unmatched, and I can't think of anyone else who comes close. Saying this early in her career fills me with hope for her bright future, and I'm confident she'll continue delivering standout performances in 2025. That said, Asa easily belongs within the perfect tier behind Giselle. Next up, the maknae of Baby Monster, Chiquita. Chiquita may be the maknae of Baby Monster, but she easily keeps up with her big sisters. One thing that really stands out to me is her stage presence and overall confidence, especially for someone her age. That's incredibly impressive. I also love her sense of enthusiasm when performing, which keeps things fun on stage. Yet, she can quickly switch to a more serious demeanor with her powerful performances. I believe that Chiquita's exposure to so much talent will only help her grow into a future ace, and possibly even a legend. Given her potential and the foundation she's building, I'm placing Chiquita within the great tier behind Ryujin. Now stepping into the spotlight, Rami. Rami is a bit underrated in Baby Monster, but I still believe she stands out, particularly for her vocal talents. That's saying a lot, especially considering how many vocally talented members surround her. Rami has proven herself to be one of the standout vocalists of the 5th generation, and I feel she deserves more recognition for her abilities. Every comeback last year was a success, with Stuck in the Middle and Click Clack being my personal favorites from her. She truly killed it during Click Clack, and she even showcased her hidden rapping talents, which I'd love to see more of. For all these reasons, I'm placing Rami within the great tier behind Yeji. Next in line is Farida. She is one of the more underrated members of Baby Monster, and I think she excels across every category, with her vocals being her strong suit. Her stage presence, while solid, doesn't seem to stand out as much as some of her fellow members. Despite that, I still think she had a pretty good year. I would love to see more of her in the spotlight to get a better sense of her full potential. But for now, I will place Farida within the great tier ahead of Bae. Next up is Rora. Rora is arguably the most underrated member within Baby Monster, and much like Farida, she's well-rounded across all categories, with her specialty as a vocalist. However, her stage presence doesn't feel as explosive as the rest of the members, in my opinion. That said, I would love to see more from her in 2025 to see how she evolves. For now, I will place Rora within the great tier, just behind Ray. Moving along with Hani, I think 2024 was a standout year for Hani. Even though we didn't get to see a lot from her last year, the moments we did have really showcased her as the standout member in both comebacks. Supernatural and Bubblegum were my personal favorites from her, as she seemed to be more in the spotlight, demonstrating her great vocals and dancing skills. Because of this, I will be placing Hani within the great tier ahead of Chaeryeong. Now let's talk about Danielle. I think 2024 wasn't as prominent for Danielle compared to her performances in 2023, which I consider to be her standout year. Not that she did badly, but it clearly wasn't as explosive as her Super Shy era. Nonetheless, I still think Danielle showcased her all-rounder talents in both comebacks in 2024, and I'm excited to see more from her in 2025. Hence, I will place her within the solid tier behind Chaewon. Coming up is Minji. I think Minji did quite well last year, with her standout performances being in House Sweet and Bubblegum. Granted, we weren't given the opportunity to see much from her this year, but I would still argue that if New Jeans had a leader, it would clearly be Minji. She clearly possesses leadership qualities such as strong stage presence, and her confidence and enthusiasm together make her an invitation for a great performance. All in all, even though we didn't see much from her last year, I believe she performed stronger than in previous years. For this reason, I am placing Minji within the great tier, behind Yoojin. Moving on to our next idol, Harin. I think last year was a critical year for Harin's growth as an idol. It became quite clear that she is starting to feel a lot more confident on stage, and this boost in confidence is positively impacting her performances and stage presence. You can really see the growth in her talents. Much like Minji, I feel that her performances last year showed an improvement compared to her super shy era. Not only that, but I think Harin's dancing skills are super underrated and deserve a lot more attention. Due to this, I will place Harin within the solid tier, behind Seolyoon. Next up is Haein. Haein has always brought a bubbly enthusiasm, which adds a lot of joy to the atmosphere on stage. However, I felt like last year was quite similar to the year before in terms of overall performance. Still, she did all right in 2024 nonetheless. I believe that as the maknae of the group, she needs more opportunities under the spotlight in 2025 to truly showcase her talents to the fullest. With that in mind, I am placing Haein within the solid tier ahead of Chaeyoung. Moving along to our next idol, Soyeon. Soyeon is well known for being the mastermind behind all the magic in G-Idol. Last year, she continued to prove that she's the concept queen, consistently delivering top-quality music. In fact, she even won the Best Songwriter Award at the Melon Music Awards and earned several D-Songs for G-Idol. Her effort is truly evident in every single comeback, and I was particularly impressed by her Super Lady era. While Klaxon was a good attempt, I didn't feel it had the same impact as Queen Card. I must also highlight how powerful her stage presence was throughout the year, especially during Super Lady. Her aura was radiating, and her confidence was on a generational scale. Ultimately, Soyeon's contributions alone warrant a spot in the perfect tier, and that is exactly where I'll place her, just behind Nayeon. Now let's talk about Yuki. Yuki has always been a pillar of G-Idol, not only for her powerful all-rounder talents, but also for her potential as a soloist. Last year, she truly amazed me with her debut solo album, Yuk 1, where she showcased a wide variety of styles, proving that she is built for the solo stage. Additionally, the awards she earned, including the Best Solo Artist Award at the KGMA and the Golden Disc Awards, further solidify her soloist potential. On top of that, Yuki continued to shine with G-Idol, delivering strong performances during their comebacks, especially with Super Lady. For these reasons, I am placing Yuki in the perfect tier, right behind Julie. Moving along with Miyeon. Personally, I've always seen Miyeon as a solid member of G-Idol, but last year, she really stood out more than in previous years. Miyeon truly shined during her Super Lady and Klaxon era, leaving me excited to see what more she has in store for this year. While I wouldn't place her at the same level as Soyeon or Yuki, she definitely earned a spot in the great tier behind Jiwoo. Up next is Minnie. Much like Miyeon, I've always viewed Minnie as a strong member of G-Idol, but last year she truly stood out, particularly during her Super Lady and Klaxon eras. Her vocals are absolutely commendable, and she consistently delivers captivating performances. I'm eager to see what she brings to the table in 2025. For now, I'm placing Minnie in the great tier ahead of Liz. For our next idol, we have the maknae of G-Idol, Shuhua. Shuhua is someone I initially viewed as having a bit of a shaky debut with G-Idol, as I didn't feel she was on the same level as her fellow members in the beginning. However, last year, she truly stepped up and demonstrated significant growth, showing that she has matured and developed her skills to align with G-Idol's standard. Her Super Lady era was undoubtedly her highlight of the year, and it's been amazing to see how far she's come in her journey as an idol. As the more underrated member of the group, I believe Shuhua deserves a lot more recognition for her hard work and dedication. Still though, I would really like to see her more in the spotlight to showcase her talents more, and hopefully she gets her chance sometime this year. Because of this, I'm placing Shuhua within the solid tier, ahead of Harin. Now let's talk about Yuna, the leader of Islet. I would argue that Yoona is one of the most underrated idols of the fifth generation and also one of the most underappreciated leaders in the industry. Despite some criticism from netizens claiming she's too old for her group's concept or style, I think she performs it masterfully. Her sense of enthusiasm on stage is infectious, and her standout performances in both Super Real Me and I'll Like You truly highlighted her talents. In my opinion, Yoona is a well-rounded idol, although there's room for improvement in her stage presence. Nonetheless, for her debut year, I think she had an impressive start. With that in mind, I'm placing Yoona within the great tier ahead of Belle. Following her is Minju. Out of all the members in ILIT, I would say that Minju stands out as the most well-rounded member and possibly the ace of the group. Throughout the year, she consistently captivated me with her performances, but her standout moment was undoubtedly her comeback with I'll Like You, which I believe was her highlight of the year. It felt like the spotlight was on her a bit more compared to her debut, and I feel really optimistic about her future as an idol. As a result, I am placing Minju within the great tier, ahead of Momo. Moving along with Mocha, I think last year, Mocha performed strongly enough to keep up with her fellow members. However, when I watch her perform, it feels like she lacks the confidence to truly showcase her full potential. I'm hopeful that this year she'll work on building that confidence, as it would not only benefit her as an individual but also elevate ILIT as a group. I think her choreography really shines through though, and the overall concept of the group was made for her. Therefore, I will place Mocha within the solid tier behind Yoona. Next up in line is Wonhee. Right from ILIT's debut, I thought Wonhee was the standout member of the group. Her enthusiasm, confidence, and well-balanced talents really captivated me, and I'd argue that it's a close tie between her and Iroha for the center position. She followed up her strong debut with an equally compelling comeback in I'll Like You, further solidifying her potential as a formidable idol. I have high hopes for her future, and for now, I will place Wonhee within the great tier behind Chaeryeong. Up next is the maknae of ILIT, Iroha. Not only do I think Iroha is one of the most underrated idols of the fifth generation, but she's also a generational talent when it comes to choreography. Her movements are incredibly fluid, and she truly shines as a dancing machine who can perform just about anything. Iroha's efforts to stand out within the group are evident, and I believe she's on a path to becoming a formidable idol in the future. Her talents deserve far more recognition, and I wouldn't be surprised if 2025 becomes her breakout year. For this, I will place Iroha within the great tier behind Belle. Now let's talk about the leader of Red Velvet, Irene. I'll admit, for a while, I considered Irene to be one of the least impactful leaders in the industry, but she truly proved me wrong last year. Not only did she deliver a near-flawless era with Cosmic, one of my favorite releases of 2024, but her solo album showcased her at full power. I'm now a huge fan, and I see Irene in an entirely new light. Her solo work demonstrated that she has soloist material written all over her. The concepts and styles she chose suited her perfectly, and the variety of songs she provided was both generous and captivating. It left me eagerly anticipating more solo projects from her in the future. Without a doubt, I am placing Irene in the perfect tier behind Ning Ning. Following her is Seulgi. Seulgi is one of the rare idols in the industry who consistently delivers powerful performances at an exceptionally high level. Her execution during Cosmic was nothing short of impressive, showcasing her strong stage presence and unmatched precision. Although we didn't see much activity from Red Velvet throughout the rest of the year, Seulgi's efforts stood out and left a positive impact. Thus, I will place Seulgi in the great tier behind Jihyo. Moving along with Wendy. Much like Seulgi, Wendy consistently delivers strong performances, but what truly sets her apart is her world-class vocals. The style and execution of Cosmic made it an absolutely stunning era for her, showcasing her vocal range and emotional depth. Out of all the releases Wendy has had with Red Velvet, Cosmic is easily one of my favorite highlights for her. Additionally, her second mini-album was another remarkable achievement, further proving her versatility and artistry. With that in mind, I'm placing Wendy in the great tier ahead of Momo. Coming up is Joy. If I'm being honest, I feel like Joy wasn't as impactful last year as she has been in previous years. It's not that her performances were bad, but they didn't quite reach the standard we're used to seeing from her. That said, I will be placing Joy in the underwhelming tier behind Gall. And finally, Yeri, the maknae of Red Velvet. Yeri is one of those idols who I feel hasn't really made much of an impact in recent times, at least not in a way that captivates me. Last year felt like more of the same, and I'm unsure how long it'll take for her to have a breakout moment. I have to be honest, I haven't been overly impressed, and that's in any category. With that in mind, I will place Yeri in the bad tier, behind Sakura. And there you have it. That's my tier list of K-pop idols for 2024. What an incredible year it's been. And as we head into 2025, I'm hoping to say the same, if not better. One thing I want to mention is that with the new year comes even more idols to look forward to, and I can't wait to add them to my videos, which will bring even more content for the year ahead. I hope you stick around to see it all. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you liked it, consider dropping a like, and if you enjoy tier lists and rankings about female K-pop groups and idols, then consider subscribing, as that's the main focus of my channel. See you next time.